Should you summon on tomorrow's special ancient summoning banner for Nastya and the new hero Erlang Shen? TLDR, probably. It's a really good banner. But in this video, I really want to unpack why this is such an appealing banner and why it's something you might be interested in actually going for. You know, there's always the fear with these ancient banners, what's around the corner. I think this is the corner a lot of people worry about. This is a spicy banner. I don't know what soon could be coming that's better than this. That being said, we will go over some key units you might be missing and certainly key lords you might be missing that may make you want to skip this, or units you already have, you know? So let's get into it. We have the brand new Erlang Shen. He is a defender. We'll get into that in just a second. He's very, very good at the things he is good at. I think some people were like, at least some people that were testing him were underwhelmed at the beginning because they didn't fully get what he is. But I think I can really explain it to you now. The things he was designed for, he's exceptionally good at. There's really a key mechanism in his kit that just cannot be activated in certain content. When it is activated, it's phenomenal. When it is not, he's like half of his full potential, you know? And then we have the legendary ancient exclusive esotericist lord Nastya. And Nastya's crazy. I also think Nastya's become borderline underrated at this point because people wanted her to be an every woman that was good at like every single piece of content in this game. And while that is not true, again, the stuff she was designed for, she is proven definitively now to be completely dominant at. Her leading the poison trio, her leading these poison esotericist comps is the strongest version of that thing in the game. Just unloading crazy boss damage across different content, different kinds of bosses. And certainly when you need ridiculous amounts of magic damage, this has become the best way to do it. So let's zoom out a bit. Who are like the competitor lords that could be on a banner that would rub up against this? Well, we always have the sneaky unknown is a new ancient exclusive lord coming. I mean, in a vacuum, you know, broadly, yes, how could it not be? There's always something else coming, but is one coming soon? Nothing I know about. I haven't heard any rumblings, mumblings, nothing. Other people know about leaks, but even the murmurs of that I hear, I've not heard anything in the pipeline. I have not heard of anything that the devs may already be cooking. We can't know definitively, but it doesn't feel like a bait. This feels like a definitive top-tier legendary lord getting her second ever banner, and it's not to draw your summons before something else comes. But take this all with a grain of salt because we do not know what's on the horizon. So who are the other top ancient exclusive legendary lords? We, of course, have Ingrid, who is the best in the game. We have Praetus, who's just phenomenal. Finally, people are starting to appreciate him a bit more now with Valara in the game. People started being like, I don't know if Praetus is top tier anymore. That was lunacy. He's not Ingrid level, but he's the next best, right? He's completely amazing. We've got Valderon. Then if you're heavily interested in GVG and just want a great tank in general, we've got Cyrus, also an esotericist. And then I'd say we've got Yovar, who's just kind of the king of PvE right now. You can use him in PvP stuff too, and we will discuss that in the video when we talk about Erlang Shen. But in a lot of ways, he's just spicy for all the new really hard PvE progression stuff they keep adding. I guess finally, we've got to mention Soul Cadens, who's kind of like, for a lot of things, the alternative to Nastya. Very, very good, excellent faction. But I would say I'd give Esotericist the edge right now for absolute top tier damage. And maybe actually let's start there. So now that we have the backdrop of what kind of lords could be coming, how do we evaluate this? Let's go lord by lord. And let's talk about Soul Cadens. So let's go to Abyss. Let's pop up the top scores. And Soul Cadens is still very much here. Like, here's my guild. It's a good guild, obviously. People getting 60K plus with Soul Cadens. But if we do go to the world rankings, the meta is Nastya. She really is. At number 5, we've got a Soul Cadens at number 6, but it's Nastya. The people using Soul Cadens, it's probably because of the units they have. They probably like Soul Cadens. It's still an unbelievable comp, but I would guess when Abyss 2 comes, and we know it's somewhere in the works, it's going to be Nastya who's like the queen of the magic damage. You can kind of scroll through and get a sense, but this triumvirate of Nastya, Vorn, and Numera is just completely unbelievable. So for stuff like this, she is super duper powerful. For other bosses, she is really, really good as well. The Poison Trio led by Nastya, phenomenal in APOC. Very, very strong, good in a bunch of different codex bosses. But outside of specific single target boss content, it's not like Nastya is unusable, but she no longer shines. So I feel like that kind of has been a knock against her. But the reason you're going for her, the reason I'm going to be going for her, spoiler alert, I've got a good amount of Ancient saved, and I'm going to be completely all in on this banner. Let me show you right now, 113, kind of amazing. I've saved that in like 6 weeks time, 5 weeks time. We'll discuss that in a future video. Positive thing Moonton has, you can earn so many free-to-play Ancient summons as an endgame player, so something you can benefit from or look forward to if you're still progressing. I'm sure a lot of people are still progressing. But yeah, Nastya is just like the key to a very important problem that must be solved in this game, and that is just unloading upon bosses. There's other aspects of the game. Nastya is not going to shine in GVG. She's not going to shine in any kind of meta endgame arena. She's not so good for a lot of like farming stages, but for boss content, which is kind of the pinnacle content for a lot of things, she's a super duper star. So evaluate what you need on your roster. So it's a similar role to Soul Kittens, though I would say Soul Kittens gets a slight edge in more broad PvE stuff outside of bosses. Nastya gets the edge, assuming you have a good comp around her in said bosses. But, you know, compared to, especially on a younger account, compared to a Praetus, who's so acutely good at everything, she kind of can't hold a candle, similar to Ingrid, right, who is the queen of the game. But if you focus on just the content she's intended for, she's top tier. She is triple S. She is phenomenal. On the whole, it's a different story. She's just very, very good. But for the content she shines in, she shines bright like a diamond. Then we also have got Valderon, who's kind of, for progression, good at everything, and then certainly unbelievable in PvP game modes. It's just an entirely different thing, right? She cannot hold a candle to him in PvP, and he really can't hold a candle to her and the kind of comp she can do in boss content. Certainly, Valderon can function for bosses, but that's more of a, you don't have a meta option, so you're going to like solo one faction, that build a comp there around Valderon, whereas Nastya is the proper meta solution. So I hope that adds some color. We didn't really talk about Yovar, but I think you do kind of get how it all fits together. And a key thing with Yovar, he can be the Lord over Numera and Vorn. Both of those units that are part of the Poison Trio, but they're two of the three, they are dual faction with Piercer and Esoteria Order, but clearly they shine so much better. They perform at a much higher level with Nastya as the Lord as opposed to Yovar. I wish with the Araka rework, they kind of made her the Piercer version of Nastya, but they didn't. The rework was whatever. So I hope you have a proper context for how good she really is, because the answer is very good. Let's spend the rest of this video really talking about Erlang Shen. I will do a full guide on him. I've been prepping content. I've been going back and forth with my friend Chris, aka Behemoth, and we've been theory crafting how to use him in Gear Aid 3. There's a lot of content he's going to shine in. A specific kind of content we'll break down. But I think him dominating Gear Aid 3 at the highest stages is such a good example of the kind of unit he is. So look out for that video. We've beaten 323 and 324. I'm working on a comp right now to defeat it without Lady Alex and featuring Erlang Shen. He is really, really powerful at that kind of stuff. So what is that kind of stuff? Well, the key mechanism in his kit is using his sweet little doggy over here. He's got this guy, they call him the Howling Celestial Dog. And a lot of things in his kit are dependent upon that. Just like how with Neza, a lot of things in his kit are dependent upon weapon switching. So how do you use the dog? Well, the dog cannot be used if there's only one target. Let's look at the talent here. The talent increases damage reduction by 15%. That's a separate thing. But then every 4 basic attacks, if there are at least 2 enemies within the ultimate range, he's going to summon the Howling Celestial Dog. He's going to attack. And then it's this whole chain of things. So much of his kit is built around sending his hound hitting a bunch of things, and then that leading to damage boosts and everything scaling together. But you can key in here and see it's every 4 basic attacks if there are at least 2 enemies within the ultimate range. So I know some people tested him and wanted him to be a good new tank for Abyss. It's not happening. There's 1 target in range. He can function, but he's not going to be special at all, right? The Hound puts out a big portion of his damage. From his passive over here, he stacks damage boosts based on the Hound attacking. If we go here and look, the Third Eye state, that's his ult. When he ults, he gets an enhanced Celestial Hound, right? All of this stuff is coming together. And another key thing that kind of makes you think, oh, he'll be good at a boss, he'll be good at this, is the amazing defense break he has, which is so strong. 30% defense break, basically 100% uptime if you build him correctly, but this is contingent upon his hound inflicting it, and his hound's only being used if there's at least 2 targets in range. So phenomenal defense break, but does not work for strictly single target content. So you need to look to use Erlang Shen in the kind of content where there's at least a couple enemies in his range. But when you have that kind of content, he's a really, really, really good unit. Now, when I called him a defender, why did I put it in quotes? It's because nothing about him is a defender. I guess if we could key in on one thing, he has this very cool passive. Half of it is increased anti-air damage, which is really good. He's phenomenal against anti-air. And the other half is talent attacks are going to restore a lot of his HP. But that being said, he's not very tanky. If we look at these stats, 22,896 HP, less than 23,000 HP, and less than 3,100 defense, we have fighters in the game with tankier stats. So this is just, he's a fighter that just technically is called the defender. It actually is kind of disappointing. I wish this was like 28,000 and 4,000 or something closer to that, because there's no real tankiness here. So you're really just going to use him as a ranged fighter. And he's a really, really good ranged multi-target fighter with incredible anti-air. So we're going to focus in on that. But I think it's important we understand the kind of unit this is. So I'm not breaking down the whole kit. You'll see that in the guide. But essentially, he hits very hard when he can start sending his hound. The hound can put out defense reduction everywhere and deal a lot of extra damage. He has this ultimate called the Third Eye, where he inflicts vulnerabilities through this Heaven's Gaze effect. With skill ups, these become 20% vulnerabilities for physical damage and magic damage. So he's a top tier unit for putting out a big multi-target defense break and big AoE vulnerabilities. Really, really good option. Really low cost ult. Very, very nice stuff. You can see he also can put out Radiant Erosion and deal extra damage. And finally, let's go back to this last passive. He can sustain himself really well, so he can exist outside of healing range. This is going to make him really, really good for Malric's Halls of Illusion, specifically the Black Sewer instance from the Mossy Crystals we're used to right now. But also, he gets a big damage boost against airborne targets, and obviously he can hit all the airborne targets. That's a key thing as a piercer he's able to do, and he does piercing damage. It's a 25% boost, but it actually goes up to 35% against airborne units when it's fully skilled up. And that is really nice. And he has one of the biggest and most unique ranges in the game. I mean, look at this. He has a 3x5 rectangle ahead of him. And then to the side of that rectangle, he gets another column of 3 tiles on each side. This is absolutely enormous. So he's just a really nice unit. Low cost ult that lasts 20 seconds, can spam a lot of damage. I guess I will mention he can increase his max HP during his ultimate. It's not enough to make him a proper tank, but he's really going to shine in a lot of places. Very good awakenings as well. You can see with the A1 here, when any enemy in his big ultimate range I just showed you dies in that range, he gets 20 rage. He's got a very low cost ult. So this allows him to spam his ults, which is going to be really good for a specific piece of content, anti-air arena. Then if we look at the A3, he can deal extra damage to targets inflicted with Radiant Erosion. He puts that out, but also he's going to function incredibly well in a Supreme Arbiter comp because he has dual faction with Piercer and Arbiter. He also puts out a lot of slows. These are 50% slows. And then finally, if you want to make him work as a spicy tank and you get him all the way up to A5, he gets some really nice unyielding and an increased healing effect after taking fatal damage. So he's a high investment hero for that actual tankiness, but in general, he's a very strong unit in both factions. Very good in anti-air and very, very nice fitting into the Arbiters. Really, really good unit. Where do I think he's going to be absolutely best? I think content with anti-air, so Gear Aid 3, very strong. Undeniably, he will be phenomenal in anti-air arena. I think at worst, he will fit in off meta. At best, he will be leading a new meta. He can function with Yovar as a lord in a Piercer comp or any Piercer lord, but certainly with the top anti-air meta now being built as an Arbiter comp with Ingrid and Valara, he could slide in there. So if I pull that up now, I think this is probably the most exciting for like ultra competitive endgame players. If we look at this leaderboard, if you don't have every single one of the current top meta units, now with him, you're getting a new potential one, right? You're missing the Lady A, you're missing the Valara. He is a new unit for for this? Or do you need a Diao Chan if you can slot him in and he's right there in the middle, putting out crazy defense breaks and stuff like that? One thing to consider, the defense break isn't going to help all these guys, right? We've got magic damage, magic damage, magic damage, but him and Lady Alex will be a really, really nice synergy together. Also, he's putting out just a ton of vulnerability. We are getting some vulnerability from Valara, but all in all, I think he'll be a really nice cog. He's going to help people progress to Overlord without a doubt. How will he function at the super high end? Like I said, he'll at least be good. He might be absolutely phenomenal. It's a pretty stacked kit. It is pretty dang spicy. So do I think Erlang Shen is like must pull absolutely Valara god tier? No, but there's almost no one like that. Valara is kind of a one of one. Do I think he's really strong and he's going to shine in a lot of places? Absolutely. I think he's very unique. I wish he was tankier, but all in all, very good anti-air DPS, very nice functionality, really crazy range, and a lot of versatility to boot. And then obviously I'm incredibly high on Nastya. She's probably the most wanted lord for my account. You could argue Praetus, but at this point I'm completely over Praetus ever coming to my account. So I'm pretty all in for this, and I hope this helps answer some of your questions should you summon. I guess the absolute last thing I want to say is with regard to Nastya's A3. I've done a lot of testing. I want to do more formal filmed testing to send to the developers, but this is not working properly for sure. So for now, Nastya is pretty freaking dominant at A0. If you have a copy of her and you're not completely head over heels for Erlang Shen, don't be too afraid to skip. And actually the final thing, he gets a pretty spicy bond skill where his dog can hit extra targets during the ultimate and where he takes less damage during the ultimate. This is nice. He also gives nice extra healing to Neza, and Neza gets debuff immunity during his ultimate. All in all, just a good kit, just a very good hero. I think one of the better arbiters we have in the game. Exactly how incredibly dominant to be seen. Will he be the next coming of Valara? No. Will he be very, very good? Yes. And is Nastya amazing? Yeah, she's nasty. Thank you guys. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comment section below. We're doing a big pulls party for this banner tomorrow. I'll put the sign up in the description. I've been Fastidious. Share it with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.